My name is Chris Moffat. I teach history at Queen Mary University of London. I'm also a trustee at the George Padmore Institute, which is an archive and educational resource centre in North London that grew out of the publishing and political activities of New Beacon Books, Britain's first black bookshop. My main writing and research is concerned with radical political thought in India and Pakistan. I recently wrote a book called India's Revolutionary Inheritance, which is focused on the iconic anti-colonial revolutionary Bhagat Singh and his afterlives in contemporary South Asia. So today, 23rd March, is Bhagat Singh's death anniversary. It's an occasion celebrated widely in India, where he is very much seen as a national hero, but also in Lahore, Pakistan, which is the city where Bhagat Singh lived and where he was hanged on the gallows in 1931. Born in 1907, Bhagat Singh was a key figure in the rising tide of radical youth activism in 1920s India. In this, he was a product of two things. First, the creation of a mass movement against imperial rule by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi in India in the wake of the First World War. And second, the world-encompassing reverberations of the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, something that signaled to many people in a place like India that a different world or a new age was possible. Bhagat Singh later became associated with a critique of Gandhi and indeed his underground clandestine revolutionary organization, which was called the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, founded in 1928. The HSRA would challenge the Mahatma's reluctance to combine soul force with physical force to escalate the mass movement that Gandhi had created against the British into an open war against the oppressors. So looking to the experience of Russia, but also histories of Ireland, of France, and beyond, the HSRA argued that armed revolution represented the, quote, most tried and efficacious means, unquote, for securing freedom, for a change in the existing order of things, society. Bhagat Singh was eventually sentenced to death for his role in the assassination of a police officer in Lahore in 1928. He was also involved in the bombing of the Legislative Assembly in New Delhi in 1929. This was the center of colonial government in India. And the smoke bombs, which killed no one, were designed to register protest against the passing of anti-trade union legislation in India. Bhagat Singh and his comrade Badakeshwar Dutt, they defended these actions by citing the French anarchist Auguste Vaillant, who said it takes a loud voice to make the deaf hear. Both Bhagat Singh and Badakeshwar Dutt surrendered willingly to the police. They planned to use the courtroom as a platform for their revolutionary propaganda. And this is when Bhagat Singh became a household name in India, as someone who stood up to tyrannical states, who would never compromise on his principles, who embraced death and sacrificed himself for a greater cause. And indeed, when he did step up to the gallows on 23rd March 1931, he did so shouting, "Inqilab Zindabad," or "Long live revolution." I was asked by Counter-Narrative News to say a few things about why we should learn about and understand Bhagat Singh today in the 21st century. In the first place, I think it's important to recognize that Bhagat Singh, though he was a revolutionary, a critic of the state, he's celebrated across the political spectrum in India today. So from the Maoist left to the Hindu nationalist right, from Khalistani separatists in Punjab to secular rationalists in Tamil Nadu, from the army in India to pacifists in Pakistan. And so the history of this figure is itself a battlefield. His charisma, his sacrifice is claimed by contradictory political projects. And I think there's a lesson here about the pliability of youthful self-sacrifice, the emphasis on individualized action, and the risk of its incorporation into nationalist or religious politics in a place like India. But there's also enough in Bhagat Singh's life, his political actions, his surviving writings, to challenge some of these readings, to emphasize instead some of the more disruptive aspects of his legacy. So in the first place, I think we should remember that even as we celebrate Bhagat Singh, or as we want to celebrate Bhagat Singh, he himself cautioned against following great men blindly. In an essay called "Why I Am an Atheist," published after his death in 1931, Bhagat Singh argued that quote, criticism and independent thinking are the two indispensable qualities of a revolutionary. In another earlier essay, he recommended another book by another revolutionary, but warned readers that they should, quote, not take for granted what is written in it. Read it, criticize it, think over it, try to formulate your own ideas with its help. This restless, searching, critical vigilance is captured in the HSRA slogan, Inqilab Zindabad, Long Live Revolution. And defending the slogan in a 1929 essay, Bhagat Singh wrote that the spirit of revolution should always permeate the soul of humanity, so that the reactionary forces may not accumulate to check its eternal onward march. Old order should change, always and ever, yielding place to new, so that one good order cannot corrupt the world. And this is really interesting, I think, and helps us to think about revolution not as something that can be necessarily finished or complete, but rather something that is constant, that has a kind of eternal onward march, as Bhagat Singh says. So there's always a looming threat of corruption, of reaction, of complacency, of compromise associated with radical projects. And this must be resisted as part of a militant life. And in this sense, though Bhagat Singh fought against the British Empire, it's unlikely that the freedom secured in 1947, the transfer of power from British to Indian elites, would have satisfied his politics, right? It's also why he remains such a powerful figure today, able to point to what I call in my book, the unfinished business of anti-colonial revolution, the continuity of those very class and caste and gender inequalities in contemporary India, which Bhagat Singh was fighting in the 1920s. Finally, I think we must recognize how Bhagat Singh's relentless critical questioning was informed by his internationalism, his refusal to contain his political imagination within colonial or national borders, to understand India's predicament in relation to other wider struggles. And this might have been in order to learn from other struggles, but it was also in practical terms a way to forge alliances with them, a sense of being a very real part of a global movement of oppressed peoples, a world on the brink of revolution. So rather than finding in Bhagat Singh an answer or a tactic to quote unquote fix the problems of our present, I think we can instead locate a certain approach to politics, the courage to question and to fight, to study and to sacrifice, and to recognize the immensity of this call to transform society utterly, but also its radical possibility.